Good morning. I'm going to start today's prayers with the prayer for the northeastern states, revealed by Abdu'l-Baha. O thou kind Lord, praise be unto thee, that thou hast shown us the highway of guidance. Open the doors of the kingdom and manifested thyself through the Sun of reality. To the blind thou hast given sight, to the deaf thou hast granted hearing. Thou hast resuscitated the dead, thou hast enriched the poor, thou hast shown the way to those who have gone astray. Thou hast led those with parched lips to the fountain of guidance. Thou hast suffered the thirsty fish to reach the ocean of reality. And thou hast invited the wandering birds to the rose garden of grace. O thou Almighty, we are thy servants and thy poor ones. We are remote and yearn for thy presence. Our thirst for the water of thy fountain are ill, longing for thy healing. We are walking in thy path, and have no aim or hope, save the diffusion of thy fragrance, so that all souls may raise the cry of, O God, guide us to the straight path. May their eyes be open to behold the light. May they be freed from the darkness of ignorance. May they gather around the lamp of thy guidance. May every portionless one receive a share, and may the deprived become the confidants of thy mysteries. O Almighty, look upon us with the glance of mercifulness. Grant us heavenly confirmation. Bestow upon us the breath of the Holy Spirit, so that we may be assisted in thy service, and like unto brilliant stars, shine in these regions with the light of thy guidance. Verily thou art the powerful, the mighty, the wise, and the seeing. I'm going to recite a prayer by Bahá'u'lláh for marriage. He is the bestower of the bounties. Praised be to God, the ancient, the ever-abiding, the changeless, the eternal. He who hath testified in his own being that verily he is the one, the single, the untrammeled, the exalted. We bear witness that there is no God but him, acknowledging his oneness, confessing his singleness. He hath ever dwelt in unapproachable heights, in the summits of his loftiness, sanctified from the mention of aught save himself, free from the description of aught but him. And when he desired to manifest grace and beneficence to men, and to set the world in order, he revealed observances and created laws. Among them he established the law of marriage, made it as a fortress for well-being and salvation, and enjoined it upon us in that which was sent down in his that which was sent down out of the heaven of sanctity in his most holy book. He saith, great is his glory, marry, O people, that from you may appear he who will remember me amongst my servants. Verily, this is one of my commandments unto you. Obey as an assistance to yourselves. Hi, Nick. Would you like to come online and say a prayer? While you're thinking about it, I will read a prayer for husbands that I'm trying to memorize. O God, my God, this thy handmaiden is calling upon you, trusting in you, turning her face to thee, imploring thee to shed thy heavenly bounties upon her, and to disclose under her thy spiritual mysteries, and to cast upon her the lights of thy Godhead. O my Lord, make the eyes of my husband to see. Rejoice thou his heart with the light of the knowledge of thee. Draw thou his mind unto thy luminous beauty. Cheer thou his spirit by revealing unto him thy manifest splendors. O my Lord, lift thou the veil from before his sight. Rain down thy plenteous bounties upon him. Intoxicate him with the wine of love for thee. Make him one of thine angels whose feet walk upon this earth, even as their souls are soaring through the high heavens. Cause him to become a brilliant lamp, shining out with the light of thy wisdom in the midst of thy people. Verily thou art the precious, the ever bestowing, the open of hand. Okay, how about a prayer for children? O Lord, make these children excellent plants. Let them grow and develop in the garden of thy covenant, and bestow freshness and beauty through the outpourings from the clouds of the all-glorious kingdom. O thou kind Lord, I am a little child. Exalt me by admitting me to thy kingdom. I am earthly. Make me heavenly. I am of the world below. Let me belong to the realm above. Gloomy. Suffer me to become radiant. Material. Make me spiritual. And grant that I may manifest thine infinite bounties. Thou art the powerful, the all-loving. And that's by Abdul Baha. I'm going to sing a prayer for the departed, which I set to music in 1993, I think it was, with Marty Quinn. Here goes. Oh my God, oh thou forgiver of sins, bestower of gifts, of affliction. Verily, I beseech thee to forgive the sins of some, as have abandoned the physical garment and have ascended to the spiritual world. O my Lord, purify them from trespasses, dispel their sorrow, and change their darkness into light. Cause them to enter the garden of happiness. Cleanse them with the most pure water, and grant to behold thy splendor and the loftiest light. I love praying for the departed because I feel so connected to them and to the spiritual world when I do. Okay, let's read. Let's do some reading. Oh yes, I see here. Last time we started reading about words and speech. And this is one of my favorite topics that Baha'u'lláh writes about because it's not something that people talk about. We don't talk about words and how we use words and how we use speech and the spiritual implications of the use of words. But I think about this a lot, and I try to conform my words to these principles. I don't always succeed, but I do try. So I'm going to start again. This is from a tablet by Baha'u'lláh that was revealed after the Kitáb-Í-Iqán, the Book of Laws. So it would have been revealed in Akka for the later part of the 1880s, I guess, or 90s. He says, no man of wisdom can demonstrate his knowledge save by means of words. This showeth the significance of the word, as it is affirmed in all the scriptures, whether of former times or more recently. So, this idea of the Word of God has been brought up in the past, and it's being brought up now in Baha'u'llah's writings. For it is through its potency and animating spirit that the people of the world have attained so eminent a position. So I think he's saying that whatever degree of progress humanity has made has been through the Word. Moreover, words and utterances should be both impressive and penetrating. So now he's telling us how we should be using our words. However, no word will be infused with these two qualities unless it be uttered wholly for the sake of God, and with due regard unto the exigencies of the occasion and the people. So he's saying our words should be impressive and penetrating, but they won't be unless we're really keeping in mind the holiness of the use of words and using them in a potent way for a good purpose. And also thinking about, okay, is this being sensitive to the people and the occasion? Now he goes on and he says, the great being saith, human utterance is an essence which aspireth to exert its influence and needeth moderation. So this is saying that when we speak, we're trying to exert influence, and we need to moderate that. We need to moderate our attempt to influence people. And it says, as to its influence, this is conditional upon refinement, which in turn is dependent upon hearts which are detached and pure. So it's saying that the more refined our speech is, the more influence it's going to have. Now, when he says refined, I think he means, what it means to me is, the more I really say exactly what I mean and not gloss it over, but at the same time, sometimes, to say it in a kind way, in a humble way, but to say what I really mean and not to repeat myself over and over again, just to refine it so that we're not burdening people with too many words. And he says that refinement is dependent upon hearts which are detached and pure. Okay, so hearts which are detached and pure. So hearts which are trying to please, this is how I see it, hearts which are attempting to please God and are not motivated by our own emotions, fears, resentments, opinions, but our hearts are open for God to come in, so to speak. And that when our hearts are like that, our words have more effect. And that talks about what it said before about words needing moderation. It says, as to its moderation, this hath to be combined with tact and wisdom, as prescribed in the Holy Scriptures and tablets. So he's also saying, I mentioned this, that words require tact and wisdom. We have to think about, is this a good thing to say right now? Can the person hear it? Should I wait? Do I need to think about it more? That, to me, that's wisdom. And tact, so that we're not stimulating people's reactive tendencies. We don't want to trigger people. We want them to be able to hear us. So we have to think about how we're going to say what it is we want to say. All right, that's enough of that. We can go on next time talking about what Baha'u'lláh says about words. And right now, okay, we're going to continue our study of the Kitáb-Í-Iqán, the Book of Certitude. I see that Gwen and Sherlock are here. Oh, how wonderful. So you may have insights that you want to share as we follow along in this book, and please do put them in the comments bar so that we can have a good conversation if you want to. Okay, so now Baha'u'lláh in this book he's talking about what the silly things that people say that are not true. He says, we have also heard a number of the foolish of the earth assert that the genuine text of the heavenly gospel doth not exist amongst the Christians, that it hath ascended unto heaven. How grievously they have erred. He's saying that is just false. How oblivious of the fact that such a statement imputed the gravest injustice and tyranny to a gracious and loving providence. So what's he saying there? He's saying, and he's going to go on, and he's going to say this more, but he's saying, why would God send us a holy book and then take it away? That's not fair. How could God, when once the day star of the beauty of Jesus had disappeared from the sight of his people and ascended unto the fourth heaven, what is that? Well, I have some ideas, only because of a wonderful Baha'i teacher I had, and have, whose name is Ray Estes, who really unpacked some of this for those of us who were fortunate enough to be able to draw from his tremendous insight and wisdom before his memory started to disappear. Anyway, he says, how could God, when once the day star of the beauty of Jesus had disappeared from the sight of his people and ascended unto the fourth heaven, cause his holy book, his most great testimony amongst his creatures, to disappear also? What would be left to that people to cling to? From the setting of the day star of Jesus until the rise of the sun of the Mohammedan dispensation. So what Baha'u'lláh is talking about here is he's saying Jesus was the messenger of God, or the manifestation of God, or the divine teacher come to humanity to educate humanity spiritually for a period of time until the coming of Muhammad 600 odd years later. And that at the time of the appearance of Muhammad, Muhammad became that teacher. And now he's talking again about this idea that the gospel ascended into heaven and the Christians don't have it. He's saying, what law, in other words, what law of God could be their stay and guide? How could they have guidance if that happened? And if God's purpose is to guide us through these messengers, how could God have taken away their book? He's talking about people who ignorantly claim that the gospel is not true. How could such people be made the victims of the avenging wrath of God, the omnipotent avenger? Ooh, that's challenging. Baha'u'lláh is saying that God has an avenging side. Something that we kind of... I notice among my friends in this new age that, we don't want to believe that God is the omnipotent avenger. We want God to be all sweetness and light, but if you think about it, there's got to be justice. I believe just the fact that we have a concept of justice proves that justice exists, but it exists as a spiritual force. And whether we see its results in this world or in the next, I believe it exists. So he's talking about the omnipotent avenger. What he's saying is, God, it wouldn't be just for God to hold humanity to a standard that they fail at if they don't know what the standard is. And if the book of God has disappeared, the true standard has disappeared, then they could not be held accountable. How could they be afflicted with the scourge of chastisement by the heavenly King? Well, I don't know about you, but I have felt the scourge of chastisement. I have lain in bed at night full of sorrow and regret and pain and agony for things that I wish I had done differently. To me, that's the chastisement, not of God directly, but of God's principle of justice, which operates, and it's operating in my life. Above all, how could the flow of the grace of the All-Bountiful be stayed? How could the ocean of his tender mercies be stilled? In other words, how could God send us a messenger and then not give us access to his message? We take refuge with God from that which his creatures have fancied about him. Exalted is he above their comprehension. He's saying, no, that's ridiculous. And God is much bigger than that. So, that was short and sweet. I'm going to end there. I thank you so much for joining me today. I'd like to end with a prayer. This is one of my favorite prayers. Let's see. Oh, excuse me. Many a chilled heart, O my God, hath been set ablaze with the fire of thy cause, and many a slumberer hath been awakened by the sweetness of thy voice. How many the strangers who have sought shelter beneath the shadow of the tree of thy oneness, and how numerous the thirsty ones who have panted after the fountain of thy living waters in thy days. Blessed is he who hath set himself towards thee and hasted to attain the dayspring of the lights of thy face. Blessed is he who with all his affections hath turned to the dawning place of thy revelation and the fountainhead of thine inspiration. Blessed is he who hath expended in thy path that which thou didst bestow upon him through thy bounty and favor. Blessed is he who in his sore longing after thee hath cast away aught else except thyself. Blessed is he who hath enjoyed intimate communion with thee and rid himself of all attachment to anyone save thee. I beseech thee, O my Lord, by him who is thy name, who through the power of thy sovereignty and might hath risen above the horizon of his prison, to ordain for everyone what becometh thee, and beseemeth thine exaltation. Thy might and truth is equal to all things. And I say aloud to everybody, God is most glorious. Thank you for joining me. Look forward to seeing you again soon.